Hey, it's Craig. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Canadian History X early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Canadian History X. For today's episode and interview, I had the pleasure of talking to Mr. Tommy Chong, probably one of the most famous Canadians out there, and somebody who has been delighting fans since the 70s, even the 60s with his music. He was such a great interview. He was such a cool guy. But before we get to that, first, if you want to be a patron and support the podcast, you can through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/CanadaEHX. But before we get to that, I'm going to play a clip of probably one of the funniest bits of the 20th century. In my mind, this ranks up there with Who's on First, the Dead Parrot sketch, and so many sketches of SCTV and Kids in the Hall. It's the Dave's Not Here sketch. I'm going to play that, and then we're going to get right to the interview with Mr. Tommy Chong.
Who is it?
It's me, Dave. Open up, man. I got the stuff.
Who is it?
It's me, Dave, man. Open up. I got the stuff.
Who?
It's Dave, man. Open up. I think the cops saw me come in here.
Who is it?
It's Dave, man. Will you open up? I got the stuff with me.
Who?
Dave, man. Open up.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave. Come on, man. Open up. I think the cops saw me.
Dave's not here.
No, man. I'm Dave, man. Hey, come on, man.
Who is it?
It's Dave, man. Will you open up? I got the stuff with
Who?
me. Dave, man. Open up.
Dave?
Yeah, Dave.
Dave's not here.
No, man. I am Dave, man. Will you... Come on. Open up the door, will you? I got the stuff with me. I think the cops saw
Who
me.
is it?
Oh, what the hell is it? Go, man. Open up the door. It's Dave.
Who?
Dave. D-A-V-E. Will you open up the goddamn
Dave?
door? Yeah, Dave.
Dave?
Right, man. Dave. Now, will you open up the door?
Dave's not here.
Oh.
Tell me a bit about Tommy Chong's Choice Cannabis. What is that?
It's Chong's Choice. Well, actually, it's no longer Chong's Choice. It's more like it's a Tommy Chong brand.
Okay.
And what it is that we only deal with the purest of the pure products. And so our products, we're just known for its quality. Not so much the quantity, but the quality for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people, make a special stop in LA just to pick up, a load of our stuff. It's, it's all about quality, because that's the only thing you can do with cannabis is just make sure it's pure and make sure it's not, you don't have any additives in there that you don't need,
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it is. And then we got the good artwork on it, got my gorgeous face on it. And, that's for all the old seniors that say, hey, he's still doing it. I'm going to do it too.
Is it available in Canada?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I got my doubts, because they don't allow celebrity endorsements in Canada, and so I doubt it. But other than people bringing it up from the States,
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Kind of in relation to that, did you ever think you would see legal weed in Canada? And then on top of that, what else do you think Canada can do to kind of expand on that a bit and make it maybe better?
Better, I guess, just kill the old ideas, kill the old myths. Canada's always had this weird relationship with marijuana. They always thought that, if you got pregnant, if you're on marijuana, your kid would look like a foot, something. There's such a big market down in the States that, Canada is like one part of LA in terms of population and everything else. The good news that this is perspective, is all the indigenous reservations. All the native lands.
Mm-hmm.
They're allowed to grow and prosper with the weed. And like I was in Kingston and at some of the reservations there, and it was like really, really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to get rid of a call there. Yeah. So, the good news, the indigenous part of Canada, they're doing really well, and the hemp industry is really, it's been booming in northern Manitoba, I guess it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that part of the cannabis thing, but as far as they had this weird thing about. Well, then the Canadian stock market, kind of. When I was in Vancouver, all my gangster friends used to hang out at the Canadian stock market.
And now weed's on the stock market.
well, that's what they did. It's another scam. Instead of like gold mines, hey, I got this thing on a gold mine. They just did a survey. I mean, they analyzed and it's got a vein of gold. Now it's Acapulco gold that they're looking at.
Yeah. Do you think the United States will ever legalize completely? I know some states have, but I guess federally.
Oh yeah. As soon as we get the Orange Menace out of the White House, we're going to be fine. Oh yeah. I mean, it's all planned. It's all because we're making millions, but we're not allowed to bank the money, in banks. And so we got big, it's like the wild west time, with the money. It's going to be legal. It's going to be legal because it's a proven medicine. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why they can stop it. And what I would like to see, I a lot of people don't agree with me, especially in the marijuana industry, but I consider all marijuana use medical. When you think about it, it's all medical. I mean, you don't, you smoke weed to get, to shut everything else down, so your body can, concentrate on healing.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the great things about weed. But Canada is very interesting because they're first. But then they don't know what to do with it. Canadians remind me of people stay up all night to be first in line, and then you say, okay. Then when they get to the thing, they go, okay, now what am I first in line for?
How do you feel your youth in Alberta kind of shaped your comedy?
In so many ways, man. When you get older, you start remembering the past to the point, to the beginning. My beginnings, what we did, I just found out recently, that I'm 8% Native. In other words, I'm in the 8%. That meant my mother was like 25%. That meant my grandmother was half. She was half Native. Mm-hmm. And my mother was born on a reservation in Mafican, Manitoba. And it was a big family secret. Although my mother married a Chinese guy, that was supposed to be the big secret. No, it was no secret. But anyway, I'm 8% Native. Mm-hmm. And then my early childhood really, really proved it, because we grew up not in the country, not like on a farm, but in between the city, where the building code stops. The fringe. That's where I grew up. I grew up on the fringe, and there was always someone poorer than me, and a ton of people richer, but I had no time to compare my childhood with anything because I was so busy, living the childhood, and so it really helped with my acting because we had to make. There were no playgrounds. Mm-hmm. There was no organized anything. we would kids would get together, and I remember I used to love playing with the girls. I'm going to talk about pre school.
Yeah.
And one of the girls' games was playing house, where, okay, I'm the mom and you're the dad, and you just came home from work, that kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I learned that's where I got my acting chops from, because we would play that game, and then the next day we'd come back and start the game again, the same where we left off, and we went all like a couple of summers playing like that. And so my early Canadian upbringing really helped me define who I am today, because, there ain't nothing to it but to do it. That was the motto.
I guess, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. But before you kind of got into acting and the whole Cheech and Chong thing, you were doing music. So I guess, how did you go from the music to switching to do a comedy in Vancouver?
Well, when I was on the road with Motown, like I'm the kind of, I'm typical Canadian in a lot of ways. Like I can do a lot of things, but I don't do one really well. It's the old farm approach, you learn how to do everything, but you don't, there's a thing about haywire. You know what haywire is?
I don't know.
It's wire that they bale hay
Oh,
with.
like twine.
Okay?
Yeah, I do. I live on a farm.
But it's
so.
wire.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm talking about wire.
Okay.
That was the magical thing. Anything, you haywired it. You wired it up. It fell apart. You wired it together. That's kind of so as a musician, I never had any formal training. It was the fact that I could play guitar, and there was a fiddle player down across the field that could play fiddle, and he needed a guitar player. He had a guitar player for a while, and then next thing you know, I'm 8 years old. I'm playing guitar with the fiddle player. So that's how I learned. That's how I learned my early music, having to play, having to do things, and that's where I learned my whole. When I shot a movie, same thing. I had to learn how to do a movie. Oh, that's easy. Get out the haywire. Wire it together.
Do the best you can, yeah.
That's it.
When you look back at your career, do you see it kind of in different phases in terms of the generations? You have the generation that first saw you with Cheech and Chong, and then my generation kind of saw you first with That 70s Show, which then took us back to Cheech and Chong, and then now you're kind of you're this kind of I've heard you being called the grandfather of pot. Do you feel like you had these different phases to your career at this point?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you look at all the great, there was a comedian. I don't know if you guys remember a guy named Jack Benny.
Yep.
You remember Jack Benny?
I've heard of him. I don't remember him though.
Well, no, he's a Canadian. And he was one of the greatest. He was the Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson copied Jack Benny. Jack Benny had a reputation for being able to make a joke last longer just by the way he looked. Well, he was Canadian. I kind of followed his arc, because the thing about Canadians, we grow up believe in myths. Like if we hear a record, we believe that the guy really played the guitar. That he didn't record and re-record and go over and over and over again. We believe that the guy learned he played those notes himself by himself. And so we fall for a lot of things that they're tricks. And so when Canadians do anything, like I say, we start from scratch. We do it the best way we can. And then because we grow up in such a tough environment, with the weather and everything else, there's no such thing as hardship. Like when I moved to LA, people were moaning and groaning about what? What are you moaning and groaning? The sun came out. There's a beach there. It's free.
Yeah.
Come on. Can you imagine? When I grew up in Calgary, if I wanted to go to the beach, we had to drive 200 miles to Sylvan Lake.
Exactly.
And sort of like wade in the mud.
Yeah, you can see the other side too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little lake.
Yeah,
Same here. Yeah. Not to mention, like you said, the winters and minus 40 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's normal weather.
Yeah.
Like you kids get outside. It'd be no one's outside. Everybody's inside.
Yeah.
And what do mothers do? Get out of here. Get outside. And so and it takes you an hour to get dressed.
Get your snow pants and everything.
Get out there. Yeah. Then you got to go to the bathroom, and you can't move, so you got to knock on the door with your head, and then you're only allowed into the porch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, Canadian, we know how to deal with hardships.
Kind of in relation to what you're talking about with Jack Benny, do you feel like, because Canada's produced so many amazing comedians, yourself, like you said, Jack Benny, Dan Aykroyd, I mean, so many people, do you feel there's something that, Canada kind of lends itself towards that comedy? Like we have a special kind of comedy?
Yeah, we're honest.
Mm-hmm.
We're honest. Like racism in Canada, the racists are honest. They're honest. They're honest racists. Yeah, I grew up in Calgary. I mean, they were honest. The teacher had no bones picking me out of the crowd and telling, sending me home because I was brown.
Yeah.
And when I was in Army cadets, most of the Army cadets were Native. That was the only summer job you could get, where they paid you money to wear a uniform and to play a soldier. Like Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky is a good example of an honest hockey player. He learned how to play hockey, and he learned how to, he was so quick and so good at it. And it was no secret. There was no secret. Gretzky didn't walk around, No, he just showed you that he was the greatest. And that's the way Canadians are, Aykroyd's the same way, Aykroyd can do so many things. And he's such a genius. And he's just honest about it,
I like that. That's a really good explanation. When did you first kind of realize with Cheech and Chong, like, this is big, and, you've kind of really hit the right moment with that? When did it kind of really dawn on you, like, we've got something here?
When Cheech and I, when we had the acting group in the Shanghai Junk, that was kind of like, something in between me being in a band, because I'd been in, like the Motown band and stuff like that. But the thing is, when you're in a band, you're just one of many. And you're not really you might have the spotlight for a minute, if it's your song, but you're one part of a team. Well, when Cheech and I first started, we started off with a band. We put a band together, a Powder Blues band, bass player. He was a bass player. And so we put a band together. We're going to do a battle of the bands at the Gardens in Vancouver. But when we got to the venue, Cheech and I did comedy first. And we never did get around to playing any music. We just did a whole 45-minute set of comedy. And so that's when I knew, halfway through the act, that's when I'm looking at Cheech, and there's two of us. There's no guitars, there's no amplifiers, there's no drums, there's no, there's microphones, and that was it. And I looked at that, and then when we were driving home, we were trying to think of a name. And then I asked Cheech if he had a nickname, and he said, yeah, Cheech. And then that's when Cheech and Chong was born. That's when I knew.
Yeah.
That's when I knew. Because I'd been through that whole other rigmarole, with the bands and all of that. But when I found out that, and we were unique, there was no other two guys like us on the planet. And so when we went down to LA, everybody recognized it. You know, it took a while. It took 2 years. It took 2 years of struggle. You know, but no, I knew right away. I knew as soon as we got a laugh. You see, comedians, they get hooked on the laugh.
Yeah.
You know, that's the trouble with Trump right now. You know, he's hooked on laughs. You know? And he can't get off stage because he just wants to perform. He don't care about a pandemic or anything. But anyway, that's when I found out. That's when I knew. And then when we were down in the States, of course, you know, when we met the right manager, we went through a couple of managers. Went through actually three managers before we found Lou Adler. And then when we found Lou Adler, he owned the company. He owned the company. So he had he had the checkbook, because that's all you really need, you know.
Yeah.
And when we met Lou, everything fell together, you know, and it's still together. It's still happening.
I was reading interviews that you did recently, just kind of preparing for this. And one of the things I read, and I really liked it, was that you kind of have this, you call it the Cheech and Chong pass when you come to the border, just because everybody kind of just knows that you're going to have weed on you. Was that kind of like that? Has that been going on for a few years, where it's like everybody kind of knows that you most likely have weed on you, and you know, you're not really being checked? I mean, obviously, I know you had to serve time for selling bongs and stuff like that, but yeah, it
depended on the guy, you know. mostly it was the superintendent. You know, the underlings would, you know, bring us whatever they found, because they're going to find something, you know, in our luggage. You know, and that became part of our comedy routine, you know, because like one time I had we traveled from, you know, on one part of the state to the other, and I had a pen, you know, like a writing pen case. And I had a couple of joints in the case itself, you know, where the pens would be. I had the joints. And so I saw that in my luggage. And so when I was packing, so I took it out and put it on the dresser, you know. And then I ended up at the border. Next thing you know, they opened my luggage. There's the pen case. What happened? My wife saw the pen case there. She said, "Oh, he forgot his pens." And so she takes it, what I took out, and put back in the luggage. And to this day, Cheech really, he does a whole bit on the look on my face when they saw the pen case.
Magically reappeared.
Yeah, that was funny.
Do you think with changing views towards weed, especially in North America, if Cheech and Chong was to be formed today, do you think it would have changed how you guys would have done the comedy or anything like that versus back in the 70s?
It's hard to say. I you know, we were unique. We could appear at any time, you know, even tomorrow, and it would be unique. Because there's no other. You think about it. You know, I'm everything. You know, Chinese, native, white, Scotch, Irish, everything. Cheech is all Mexican, and we're no matter how you look at it, we're minorities. You know, and we're potheads. You know, pothead minorities. You know, so but more than anything, the magic sauce really is the comedy. When you make people laugh, then everybody loves you. Even your enemies love you. You know, in fact, they want to be next to you. You know, I can just see, I can see Trump being very honored to have Cheech and Chong visit him. He'd get nervous. He'd do all that things, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's how unique Cheech and Chong are, you know. Because we transcend it. We transcended everything, you know. And I've been around royalty myself, you know. Like I met Muhammad Ali personally, you know. And I've met all, you know. I've been involved with like the Jackson 5. You know, we were the ones that discovered the Jackson 5. there's a great jazz pianist called Herbie Hancock.
Mhm.
You know, he's a fan to the point where he kind of told me off. I do a musical bit, you know, called Blind Melon Chidlin. Do you remember Blind Melon Chidlin?
I don't know.
But anyway, it's a takeoff on a black blues singer. And Herbie heard our show, and he loved the music. He loved what I was playing. He said, and then you went into that other stuff.
Only a friend can do that.
Yeah.
So how often do you get back to Canada?
Not often enough, especially during this shutdown. You know, we haven't been there for a couple of months now. But we have a home in Vancouver. You know, we have on the water, on West Vancouver. We're kind of trying to sell it now. You know, we divested a lot of our holdings in Canada because, you know, just convenience more than anything, you know. But no, I try to get up there as much as I can. I love Canada. You know, I was in Kingston, Ontario for a pot thing, you know, and oh God, I just had the best. I'd never been to Kingston. Well, I'd been there, but I was a baby at the time. And Kingston is incredible. Another paradise. That's where Aykroyd has a house or a spread. But Canada is so beautiful if you have money.
Yeah, it helps. Helps with a lot of places, I think. So I guess what have you been up to with during this kind of COVID shutdown? Have you been kind of just keeping to yourself, or have you got projects on the go?
Oh no, I've been doing my art. I make marijuana pipes out of bamboo.
Nice.
And I make out of anything, you know, anything found. I've got I make bongs out of kombucha bottles, and then I'm sort of like working on a art project. When I had the bong company, I had an idea of $1 million bong, you know, made out of rare diamonds and jewels and so on, you know, for the art collector, because there's an art world out there that I really want to. Cheech is in it, and I really want to get into it. And so I've been working on my art. I do some sculpturing. But again, you know, because it's stoner time. So, and I like sanding. I like the sanding machine, you know, the vibrator. It's like a nice vibrator. It's an easy way to do woodwork without hurting yourself, you know.
Yeah.
So I like to sand things. And I write songs. You know, I've been a songwriter all my life, or a poet. You know, I write poetry when I'm high. You know, when I smoke a bowl, and then I'll get a real nice phrase in my head, and I'll write it down. I use the phone, so I do a lot of writing in my phone, and I like to read, or I like to have people read to me. Because you know, my eyes are a little bit. You get tired. It's exhausting, you know, trying to figure out shit. But I'm busy, and then I got a gorgeous wife that she's experimenting with her cooking. She's trying this dish and that dish, and I'm in heaven, man. And all I have to do to keep everybody happy is the dishes.
That's pretty sweet.
And I'm good. I'm really good at doing dishes. I learned growing up poor. You learn how to clean. You learn how to clean other people's stuff. You know, that's job is always available.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to mow lawns. I learned how to, you know, not good at it. I'm never really excellent at anything because I don't have the patience, I guess, you know. But I'm a jack of all trades, you know, and I got a beautiful home here in the Palisades, pool, you know, little jungle, backyard. and a beautiful little puppy, little poodle. And so, and then my son, he lives in Paris. He lives here with his newly married wife, and they're expecting a baby.
Nice.
And they're yeah. So my life is idyllic. It's so good. You know, everybody's worried about this shutdown, and I'm enjoying it to the max.
Just taking it all in, for sure. That kind of leads
Yeah,
leads to my last question. Is that, you know, you look back on your career, you've had a hit song. You, like you mentioned, you were kind of there helping get the contract signed for the Jackson 5. I think you performed with Jimi Hendrix, all the Cheech and Chong stuff. You've been on hit TV shows. Is there anything that stands out, like just the highlight of your entire career over the past few decades?
I guess the biggest was meeting Cheech.
Mm-hmm.
I you know, when Cheech and I performed, that was probably the highest part of my life, you know, because well, think about it, you know, that's what enabled. I mean, we did a show with the Rolling Stones one time at the Forum for 19,000 people, and we once played for the largest outdoor show, something
Really?
like 700,000 people in Bull Run. Yeah, we once did a show where only the people close enough to see it. There's, and it's still happening. You know, my life is still going on. We're not even close to the finale yet. You know, I just saw a glimpse of my wife. She practices her ballet in the dining room, you know, on TV, and then I'm going to start up. I'm learning how to dance tango.
Oh, nice.
You know, Argentine tango, and that's a lifetime job ahead of me. So I couldn't be happier, man. It's pretty incredible.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Tommy Chong, and if you did, please give a rating and review. You can reach me at craig@canadaehx.com. You can visit my website where you'll find hundreds of articles on Canada's history and all my podcast episodes. Go to canadaehx.com. Again, you can support the podcast at Patreon. Go to patreon.com/canadaehx. Thanks, and we'll see you again next time.